I get very wrapped up and excited and talking about this stuff, and then I tend to forget to tell people about all the fun stuff you can do and see. So there is an opportunity for you to win some stuff tonight. So you have to enter my little raffle if you so desire. So there's little raffle tickets here, and you can win a t-shirt, and you can also win $50 worth of personal training services with me. So that's an opportunity for you if you want to do that. And if at the end you have any questions about anything that you want to talk to me privately about, feel free. There's an opportunity during the workshop, so hopefully you're not shy. It didn't seem like you were too shy before, but to definitely interact and talk, and that's what all these food labels are here for, about, what's a trick, what's not a trick, what's going on, that kind of thing. And if you got questions, don't hesitate to interrupt me, because I don't feel that way. I've got 2 little presentations to show you, and then we're going to learn a way to read a food label that's really simplistic, because I don't know if anybody's learned how to read a food label with a whole bunch of math involved, where they're like, add this, take away that, do this, and then if you're in the grocery store and you're trying to do something quick, it doesn't happen. You're just going to throw it in the cart, and that's it, and you're going to be like, I'm hungry, and I want it, and it looks yummy, and it goes, and it goes, and then we end up, where it doesn't want to be, and so that's the deal. I also have handouts for you to take, so if you want to take notes, cool, I have, awesome, but if I'm going too fast and you get nervous, there's stuff at the end, so you don't have to be, I missed that, go back, because there'll be stuff for you at the end as well if you want to grab it. So let me show you what we got going on. I also have what I like to call some power foods for you too, so stuff that you can, we're not doing that. There we go. All right, so, see, we're going to act naughty. There we go. Can anybody guess and tell me what they think, what food that is by reading this? This is it, and it's chemical compound. I will guarantee everybody's probably eaten this.
Chicken nuggets?
You are a winner. Okay, that is chicken nuggets. Doesn't that look delicious?
I've never had one.
You've never had a chicken nugget in any way, shape, or form? Are you a vegetarian, my lady?
Almost.
Almost, all right. I was like, you've got to be something.
I don't like fried food.
You don't like fried food? I'm going to put this over, hopefully. If anything bad happens, we'll blame that.
I know what they are. Hold your cord.
I'll look that over for you.
Yeah, we'll go that for a minute.
You just move the table.
Yeah.
No, there's a lumpy one.
So then look, this is a more natural chicken nugget. You can see the difference. So if you're going to make these at home, that's my point. So when you start looking at a food label, the first thing I want you to do at the supermarket, when you pick it up, if there's too much stuff in the thing, in the ingredients, put it back down. If you can't read it, if there's stuff in there that you're like, why are you putting that in your body? All right? So put it back down if you can't read it. All right? You wouldn't cook like that in real life. You don't go find yellow number 17 and put that in your chicken nuggets, right? Or red number 7. You don't go do that and make your own nuggets that way. So why do you buy it like that? Okay, so you don't need to do that.
Are you saying that overall description is good or
This
not
is
good?
better.
Well, it's better than the first, I agree.
Better than the first.
I'm not trying to be that precise, but do you put that down just the way you did the box? Or is it in the...
This would be in the store, right?
Yes.
So if I was going to buy chicken nuggets,
Yes,
right, I would pick this one
okay.
over the first one. Now, if you're not going to buy chicken nuggets at all, then you're not going to buy chicken nuggets at all. I would prefer that you don't eat fried food, but we all know our chicken nuggets are our #1 food that most children are eating. So if you've got children or grandchildren, they're eating chicken nuggets.
So these guys clearly position themselves as a better choice.
Yeah.
Would you think on the label there would be a clue for us rather than having to read the labels of all the chicken nuggets? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In terms of marketing?
People try, and then, so you'll see stuff like natural and whatever, but all of that is unregulated. So I can say, I can say, this is more healthy and natural. And we all know cake's not gonna be an awesome product, right? You're not gonna be like, oh my gosh, this is super healthy, this is the best choice ever. Because it's cake, right? Cake's cake, you know that. But I can do whatever I want, and it's really unregulated, with a few exceptions. Things like organic and things like that, there's some exceptions, but I can pretty much put whatever I want on the box, with a few exceptions. And that's what's hard. Oh, come on now. You're acting very well. All right, here you go. Same deal. Again, I imagine most of you have this. Mac and cheese. I bet you could guess which brand, but we won't say. Okay? So there's things in there that you would never put in homemade mac and cheese, right? Look towards the bottom. Now, I'll give you a clue. Some of this stuff isn't that bad, right? Because like when I'm with clients, sometimes they're like, well, what does all this stuff do? Some of this isn't that terrible. Like this is just a milk product. This is just, does anybody know what citric acid does? It's just like vitamin C. It's not that terrible, all right? So in this, though, why are these here? And in fact, in Europe, most of this is gone.
To make it yellow.
Okay, to make it yellow. But in other countries, they're using things like carrot juice and things of that nature to make it have that yellow tint versus here. So I don't know why we're behind. So here's a more natural product for you to look at. And here's the annatto that they're using to make it yellow.
Sodium phosphate.
Sodium phosphate is going to help it not rot. So it'll have a better shelf life. So that's not necessarily a salt. I mean, it is, but it's not going to add to your sodium. Yeah, it's not going to add to your sodium content like you think of. So
Is that Annie's?
I can't divulge that.
Which one, Annie?
But you can guess if you think it is.
I got a granddaughter that lives on mac and cheese.
All right, so here you go. What's this one? A little harder to guess. This is real bad. Look at all that weird stuff, right? Harder to read this one.
A hot dog?
This is a hot dog. That's a hot dog. All right.
It's mechanically separated.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is not for the sensitive viewer. All right, so if you're a sensitive viewer, time to tune out. All right, mechanically separated means that we've butchered the animal and then whatever's left has been mechanically removed by some sort of method. So usually it's water, it doesn't have to be. All
I
right,
guess it's better than some guy pulling it off, right?
I guess, but it's, remember, they've taken everything off that they can butcher.
Right, so this is like the.
Meat byproduct?
Meat byproducts, there you go.
Yeah. So generally it's pretty bad quality, yeah. So, I mean, that's what's kind of scary.
So if you saw a hot dog that said it's 100% beef,
It is 100% beef.
but it is still mechanically separated.
Yeah,
There's no beef in that.
yeah. So that's what you gotta think about
Yeah,
with that.
because I always thought the beef ones were better.
Yeah, so here's another hot dog. Look at, so this is a big difference. Look at, now you've got real beef and pork. So they didn't mechanically separate this. What did that mean they did? They did what? They actually took some real cuts of beef and pork versus whatever they could find off the bones. And then now the rest, you can read all this, right? And then this is the same thing. I mean, so you're eating, so that's what I'm saying, when you're in the store, at first it's going to take a lot more time. So when you first go to the store the first time with this new attitude of, what do I want to put in my body? And you start looking at your favorite foods and you're like, oh, I've always been eating Duncan Hines. Let me see. Oh my goodness. That's not a good one. And now I gotta pick up another one and another one and another one. It's gonna take more time, but then eventually you're gonna get what? Find the ones that you like, and then it's gonna be, you're gonna have it in your source and say, oh, most of them, because they have to be competitive, aren't that much more expensive. And that's the thing that everybody's like, well, it's so much more expensive to eat healthy. It's really not that much more expensive because they have to be competitive, because otherwise they go out of business.
So that one doesn't have a preservative in it, right?
Right.
Which is interesting, because usually the shelf life, if you look on that stuff, is pretty long for hot
A
dogs.
lot of,
That's a red flag, isn't it?
what that
A
doesn't,
really long shelf life.
a really long shelf life is something to be concerned about, because meats, meats, cheeses, all that kind of stuff, food should rot, let's just be honest. I mean, we all know that, right? Food should rot. And when it doesn't, that should make us concerned. And there's been a big push for consumers to want food that doesn't have a ton of chemicals in it. And so manufacturers are responding. And so you may notice in like especially lunch meats, hot dogs, kielbasa, things like that, you're seeing more and more stuff like this. Where it's got less like nitrites, nitrates, has anybody heard of those before?
Yeah.
Less of that stuff put in there because people are demanding it, which is good.
So are they mandated to stay mechanically separated, or, I don't know that, is it?
Yeah.
They have to say that?
They have to, yeah, so they have to say whether or not.
So they don't have to, on it to say which beef, it's just beef.
Yeah. So that could be rump roast, that could be, you know, piece of chuck, it could be whatever, but you know it's beef.
And it's usually something that you would find from a local butcher, where they would be doing, or a farm that.
Can we go? I really do that. Just leave that slide up.
Oh, yeah.
Go up to this one. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying that this is really more something that you would find on a farm where they have processed their own meat, raised the cattle or the sheep, whatever, and or at a butcher shop where they have put their own spices together and you know it's good beef, there's nothing else that's in it. And that's why it really doesn't have a long shelf life, because it's fresh
Fresh.
and you do have to use it in a certain number of days.
Yeah. And remember, everything can be frozen. I mean, there's very few things that you can't freeze. So if you're like, well, I don't have time to eat it this week, or we thought we were going to eat these, but it just didn't work out because this week got crazy or whatever. Almost everything, including cheese, because I know you're a cheese fan. Even cheese can be frozen. You know,
It doesn't last that long.
you know, we got a ton of stuff that can be frozen. So if you bought something and you're afraid, you know, oh my gosh, a lot of stuff, even lunch meat. So if you're buying more organic lunch meat, less chemical in your lunch meat, even that can be frozen. So then you can, you know, if you're like, oh, I spent so much money and now it's just going to go in the garbage. You know, start using your freezer in a way that you haven't really thought about. And, you know, with the exception of a few things, like, you know, obviously eggs and stuff.
Doesn't cheese change when it's frozen?
It can,
I mean, you can use it if you're melting it, but not
right.
for a slice of cheese on bread.
It depends on which kind of cheeses you're using. The harder, the easier. Yeah. If you're using really soft cheeses like mozzarellas and bries and stuff, yeah, they don't freeze well. So, which makes sense because they're more, they're more liquidy cheeses. So yeah, harder cheeses are going to freeze easier.
So if you're buying food from the meat case, like last Saturday, I bought some boneless chicken breasts.
Yeah.
And they had a date on them, so last Saturday was the 30th of April.
Yeah.
They had a date on them of 5/7.
Yeah.
How can that be?
Yeah.
How can it be good for a week? Chicken.
Yeah. In the fridge, you mean? Like,
Fridge.
yeah. Because chances are they processed it, you know, close to when you bought it.
Yeah.
You know, in the store wherever you went, say you went to, you know, wherever, local store, and then they processed it right then, and then now, or close to the 30th, and then that's why you had that big long day, that week. And they're gonna assume that you're gonna use it within that time, and that's why that other day is your like drop dead day, you need to get rid of it.
I know, but that just seems like a long time for chicken.
Yeah.
I always thought that like 3 days in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
It's all vacuum sealed, isn't it?
Yeah, it was in the saran wrap sweet
Well,
seal.
I know that's what it's not the basket, so the back of it was sealed, but it's not
Right.
like it's a
Super long,
it's
yeah.
really vacuum sealed.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, generally most stuff is gonna make it, in all honesty, 5 to 7 days in the fridge, you know, assuming you didn't leave it in the car, you know, and drive around, you know, Concord, Hooksett.
You just gotta freeze
Use
it.
or
that's all.
freeze
Take
by-
it
Yes,
down the freezer.
yeah, so assuming you didn't, like I said, drive around Hooksett and Concord,
Right.
leave the chicken in the trunk for, you know, a couple hours, and then get home. You know, assuming none of that happened, it'd be okay. So we just talked about all this, but that's what, you know, the basic deal there. So I'm gonna zoom past that. Oh, come on, there we go. So this is the thing this is why we're here. Oh, no, come on.
Wasn't one of the problems, there's no standard definition for a lot of the words they use?
There are standard definitions, and they're supposed to go by it. And, you know, I didn't print all those out, but there are standard definitions, like what's organic, what's this, what's that. Yeah, and so it's just been very difficult to get everybody to comply. And so that's the deal. So this thing that we're gonna learn, that, you know, right now is called Label Ease. It's been around forever, and it just hasn't been really well taught. And I find it super duper easy way when you're in the store to see if you should be eating something, or if it should go back on the shelf. Because remember, our first rule, we look and say, can I either read the ingredient list? Is there stuff on there that I'm like, and then second, you're going to do this weird thing that I'm going to show you. So you start with a fist. And you raise fingers now. If you're hating this presentation, you don't raise you know what finger, okay? I mean, you don't do that, okay? You keep that finger to yourself right now, okay? And then you raise a finger for 10% or more for all these ingredients on the label. So if we're looking at this example label, vitamin A, now this is a standard label that has to be there by law, all right? This big black line will always be there. If it's not there, it's because these don't exist in that food product. And somewhere, and probably to font, there will have to be a statement. This is not a significant source of, all right? And then they'll list all these things out. So if you don't see the big black line, all right, that's why. All right, so looking at this, I start with the fist. I only get 1. I get 2. Uh-oh. I'm not looking good here. So this food is a 0. So this is like, why am I even bothering? Okay? I'll tell you why it's a 0 in a second, because I just raised fingers, but it ended up being a 0. Because you see, I raised 1, 2 for here, no for the fiber. And then you're going to get rid of fingers in a second, but we don't learn that stuff yet. Okay? So raise, raise, raise. Okay? Here comes the lowering finger part that I just cheated and didn't teach you and did it automatically because it's stuck in my head. All right, here's where you get rid of the fingers. So you get rid of fingers, same label. If it's 10% or more fat, 200 or more calories. So same label, right? I had 2 fingers up, right? Calcium, protein, no fiber. 18% fat, woo, and 250 calories. So now I have a 0 finger food. Why am I eating that? Your max food is going to be 6 fingers. And you say, wait, Heather, you're an idiot. Most humans have 5 fingers on one hand. There are 6 finger foods. They're less common. They're going to be all the things that are really super delicious, like kale, broccoli, all those yummy things that everybody's like, ew. No, I really like those things. So if you don't like them, then too bad. Cereals also tend to be 6 finger foods because they're fortified. You know the cereals I'm talking about. It's not the cereals that are on the middle shelf. You know the ones that are all brightly colored and pretty and look nice and have little kid faces on them and all those cereals. It's the cereals that are boring.
Doesn't the 200 or more total calories though depend on what it is?
We're going by serving size.
Yeah. But I mean, if you have, I know this is not, but if you have one of those better type, like a frozen dinner, it's going to have more than 200 calories.
Right. So hopefully then you have a whole bunch of fingers up from the other thing.
Yeah.
Right? So if I got 5 fingers up,
Oh, okay.
right, then I just lose 1 because it was 400 calories.
So what's the cutoff? How many fingers is good?
I generally say, because I'm a little biased, because I want you to be super healthy. If you were my client, I would be like, I want you to eat nothing less than a 1 finger food.
Oh.
Okay?
Yeah.
So most people struggle. Because here's what's going to happen in real life. We're going to do this in a second. I'm going to give you a label. You're going to get 0, 0, 0, 0, right? If this was a different label. There's 18% fat, bam, 250 calories, bam, you got a negative 2 finger food. Why am I eating this? A lot of your foods are negative finger foods. You're just eating nothing.
What about the sugars?
Sugars are gonna be something that we haven't really talked about, and I'm gonna in a second, but it's just a mess. And with our high rate of diabetes, it's a giant disaster right now.
And, well, you've got limit sodium,
Yeah,
but they don't. I mean, I try to limit sodium and it's any prepared food.
it's
just
a
so
mess.
high.
Yep, so like say I buy this, right?
Oh, gosh.
I buy this, any canned vegetable, that's why, this is canned potatoes. I buy canned anything, right? If you buy canned vegetables, if you rinse them out, you've limited your sodium a ton, all right? People don't think like that though, right? Because you just think, oh, I dump it in, or I just eat it, or whatever. If you literally take the time like to put it in a colander and rinse it, you'll limit your sodium.
I can't be.
You eliminate it?
You don't eliminate it, you'll limit, because there's no way you can eliminate sodium. That would be just crazy talk.
But there's some foods that come, some canned foods that have low sodium.
Yeah, so then if you start with the low sodium and then rinse them,
Mhm.
whew, right? And salt shakers should not exist in your life. If you're using a salt shaker, that's crazy talk, okay? That's just crazy, because you're just adding, because unless you're not eating anything commercially prepared, like you said.
Yeah,
I mean,
I notice on the cooking shows that you watch on TV, they salt, and they keep salting
Yeah.
as they're cooking. And I made the mistake once of making chicken soup
Yeah.
from scratch, and there was no salt in it.
It's very bland.
It's very bland. I
Right.
had to put a little in it.
Yeah.
But there's a difference to me between a little seasoning and salty soup.
Right, right.
Is what you get a lot.
Right, like I brought in, I don't know if you guys can see this on the, you're gonna get a label right now in a second, but this is, a local store, I'm sure you can all see it. So, and it's chicken noodle soup and, you know, canned. And so when you first look on the back, you're like, wow, this isn't that bad, 80 calories, you know, 2.5 grams of fat, right? I'm like, wow, this isn't that bad, right? Here's one of the things I want you to think about. First of all, the sodium's horrible. It's 880 milligrams, right? That's just awful. Keep in mind, you're supposed to have somewhere in the neighborhood, right? You're supposed to aim for generally under 2,000 milligrams a day, which is good luck if you're eating commercially prepared food. There's 2.5 servings in this can. Most people eat the entire can by themselves. Okay? So now you need to take everything on here and multiply by 2.5. It's a big trick all the time to do something 2.5, 3.5, 1.5. Most people can't do halves. So that's why that happens. Because, right, I can multiply by 2 easy, right? So we go, wow, 880 times 2. Man, that's like 1,600 milligrams. Add the half in, and now a lot of people's brains do what? I'm done. I can't do it. Right? I'm done. I can't do that math. Okay? So that's a big thing that you'll see a lot. 2.5, 1.5, 3.5.
All of them carry this for the calculator.
Right. So that's a big thing that we see a lot. Okay? So be careful. I call that the double up trick.
Along with the same line, on the previous label,
Yeah.
I'm not in the food industry or
Yeah.
anything.
Let me
I'm
just.
reasonably familiar with numbers. The manufacturer, and I'm going to lead to a question, is there a regulation? The manufacturer could reduce that percentage, I know I'm going to say the obvious, if they just put in serving size is half a cup, and the servings per container is 4, so that 18% of the first line, I'm telling you, you don't already know, becomes 9. My general question is this: is there like a federal regulation that kind of says you can't do that just to
Make
the
your numbers
percentage
look better?
better?
For a long time, no. And currently, there's legislation that if the food product is, let's see how I can say this the best way. If the food product is intended to be eaten in one sitting, they have to make it one serving. So for example, candy bars were famous for doing this. They'd make one candy bar 3 servings. The candy bar is intended to be eaten in one serving, not 3. It's very unusual for someone to take one candy bar and break it into thirds and eat it in 3 days. And so that's the new regulations that have come through. You may have noticed on sodas that they're starting to put on there what the total calories are on sodas. That's where all this is coming from. It's brand new, it's voluntary, they don't have to comply, they will. But it's not on everything. So like what you said, I could do on, say, yes, I could make whatever I want. I can say the serving size is whatever I want, because who's to say what the intention is for how many I eat of those a day?
there are some things on the market, I can't think which one, that seem relatively healthy, and the serving size is like 2 tablespoons. And
Right.
nobody would only eat 2 tablespoons
Yeah.
of, I can't
Like-
remember now what I've seen it.
Salad dressing, that's a common
Yeah.
one, that's 2
Yeah.
tablespoons. Peanut butter is another one that's like that, 2
Yeah.
tablespoons.
Yeah.
You're a cheese fan, maybe that's where you got it, that's
And
1
then
ounce.
cheese, because that doesn't usually come with those.
Yeah, cheese is usually 1 ounce, and that's usually 1 slice.
Yeah.
Like, if you buy a brick, that's usually 1 slice of cheese, which
Which,
that doesn't happen.
no.
No one eats 1 slice of cheese.
Yeah.
I saw mine.
Yeah,
I
so,
think it was the peanut butter I was
Yeah.
thinking about too, but, or olives. I bought a little box of olives recently,
yeah,
and the serving size was 1 olive.
yeah,
Who needs 1 olive?
maybe you have to cut it in thirds or something, maybe that was their idea, I don't know, it's very tricky sometimes, that's why I said that. All right, so I'm gonna come and give you a label, and I'm gonna on purpose give some people ones that I wanna see how we do. And then you're gonna tell me how many fingers you get. If you get completely lost and confused, cool beans, just raise your hand or say, Heather, come over here, I'm completely lost and confused. And I'll say, okay, and I'll come over. All right, I don't know how many I grabbed, so I may have to come back. If you have a particular label in mind when I'm walking around, just say, give me that label. I have no worries about that. Have some of those. There might be some crumbs in there. Oh, you may have the Velveeta. Oh, you want to use your own? Oh, feel free. All right, so is anybody lost in the woods, confused? Oh, we got to get our glasses on, I feel you.
Glasses on, I haven't been used for a while.
All right, so remember, you start with the fist. So first of all, remember, I already see some people forgot step 1. Should you even be picking this in your cart? Did you look at the label and see if it has a ton of chemical? She's like, dang, I can't get my glasses on. So if you got it, that is, which one? That is just like a yeast, not a yeast,
I heard this with a bigger, that's another problem. You go to the grocery store and unless you've got a magnifying glass with you.
seriously, or like, big bifocal glasses, it's horrible.
Something I bought recently and I literally could not read it.
Yeah,
I couldn't find anything that would, I don't know why this is so messed up here.
do you want to know?
No.
What was the calorie limit?
250, and then 250 calories, but I don't have it all on the same slide. 250 calories and 10% more total fat. That's when you chop off fingers. Does anybody think they got an awesome food product that we should all be buying tomorrow?
That 200 calories is per serving.
Per serving, yes sir. Matt's really hoping on those Velveetas. So if he's gonna get crushed and all his dreams are going down the toilet if those Velveetas are no good. Well, we're gonna have to share. So if you're embarrassed to share, you can just tell me.
I did this right, it's a 0.
Who still needs more time?
Oh, there's,
I'm confused.
You're confused? I'm coming over.
These?
I gave up on the glasses.
You gave up on it?
On the
Get to
glasses.
basic.
Oh, all right.
It doesn't
Yeah, I can read it
say.
to you.
Actually.
I'm not sitting on anything, I don't think. All right, so you got,
No, I can see it, I just can't
All right.
remember it.
okay.
But I don't remember,
Okay, so you start with the fist way down here.
this is the serving, it's for this.
Yeah, so you're down here, you got no vitamin A, no vitamin C, no calcium. You got 10% iron, so you got 1. So far you got 1 finger up.
Oh, I got one.
Yep, and then you
Do I
got,
have to subtract the ones I don't?
nope, you got fiber, so you got 2.
Okay.
And then you got, you gotta get rid of a finger for the total fat. And the
Mine
calories.
actually has 1.
So you gotta
And you
go.
will get one for the.
No, if it's 250 or more, you take away. So, and then.
Get the microphone on.
That's
I
a
can't-
basic.
I
There's no fat, so that's
never
good.
remember all that.
Don't worry, you're getting the thing. It becomes second nature, it's pretty easy.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, but all the
Yeah,
percentages,
it's 29.
They're all heads.
That's all the-
with the exception of the calories.
So they're nothing?
Oh,
There is zero.
Yeah.
oh, they're all 10?
Are there any fingers never that?
But you,
Nope.
no, they're not mine,
No.
but make sure you.
Oh, the lower fingers?
Like
Someone
17
raised
pretzels.
calories.
So you lower the fingers for the calories
One
and the
second.
fat, that's it.
I think I did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, these are, I mean, they're like munchy food, there's nothing good.
So yep, so that's a subtract a finger.
Salt tastes good.
Yeah, so, yep, so 200, no, so you have 200 or more, you would subtract. If it's nothing, and it's less, then you add a finger.
Well,
It doesn't get anything, because that's awesome. Yep,
I'm sure they're better than the shake.
it's same deal, just nothing. Yep, so how many fingers did you get for that? A one, nice.
Aren't you trying to get 5?
You're trying to get 5 to 6, yeah. You definitely don't want to
Oh,
be
yeah, no,
negative.
there's definitely. I wonder how many of the sugars from this.
Yeah.
are natural.
Yeah, it's really hard to get 5s and 6s.
This lady, almost 40%
So they're dry, they're basically white.
All right, ready to share? Who's ready to share? Did anybody find something good?
No.
Oh, me? What?
You said you had to give people one.
All right, what do we got?
Stack of that.
I stacked the deck? Oh, no way would I do such a thing. All right, so the pretzels were
Zero.
a 0.
Raisins, you would think would be good, other than high sugar, they're 0.
0. Now, I'm gonna pick on dried fruit. Dried fruit is an absolute disaster if you're trying to watch sugars. My lady, would you love to tell me how many sugars are there?
31 and a quarter of a cup.
31 grams of sugar in a quarter cup.
Why
So,
is that?
they generally are just, they either add it. If you, did they add some on the label? They probably did. If you can't see it.
100% fruit, no sugar added.
Oh, so,
fruits in themselves.
and are
high
sugary.
carbs.
and then once you dry it, everything gets,
Concentrated.
yep. And so it's just crazy. So dried fruit is generally a disaster if you're watching sugars. How do you-
Isn't it a better
The
sugar
truffle
for you?
raisin.
I'd rather see you eat the real sugar, the real fruit. So like eat a grape, it'd be less sugary. So yeah,
I gotta
dried
get
fruit,
it home, they have both raisins.
yeah, it's tough, it's tough.
Yeah.
Dried fruit is a tough one. But if that choice is between dried fruit and potato chips,
Right, or pretzels and potato chips.
Right.
Is it better?
pretzels are better than potato chips. Potato chips, I'll do that for you in a second, are gonna definitely reign in bad, yeah.
So this is a smoothie, it has 1, which is calcium,
Well, what did it end up altogether?
1.
It ended up as a 1, it didn't have over 200 or anything? Oh, nice. Yeah,
I had 2.
2,
For the calcium and for the protein. And I didn't have to take any fingers down because the calories and what was the other thing? The calories
Oh,
and the
fat.
fat content were low.
nice.
And the ingredients look like there's foreign stuff in there, but it says live and active cultures is what they're explaining, and those should be good.
Yeah, yogurt's one of those ones that if you can't read it, generally at the end, there are the cultures, with the exception of my friend over here. Hers is generally, if you look on there, there's probably a ton of sugar. So if you're a yogurt fan, you gotta really try to look for plain yogurt. And it's a way different taste.
Well, I don't
Super
know,
different.
total carbohydrates is 10 and sugars is 10.
Yeah, but what's your serving size?
1 bottle,
Yeah, but how big is the bottle, does it say? It's gotta be.
kid size bottle.
Yeah, that's pretty tiny,
It's for a kid,
yeah.
so,
I think I got one.
yeah, I mean, the serving size is 1 bottle,
Yeah,
which is 93 milliliters,
Yeah.
which doesn't give me ounces.
that's small,
Yeah.
so, that's a lot of
It's-
sugar.
There's 60 calories per little bottle.
Yeah, because 10, you want to think of a gram sugar as like, everybody's seen sugar cubes, right?
Mhm.
So if you think of a gram is like a sugar cube, so that's like 10 grams of
Yeah,
sugar.
it's 3.1 ounces,
Yeah, so that's
which
nuts,
is little.
yeah. So 10 grams, 10 sugar cubes in one of those little bottles, that's a lot. I mean, so that's why a lot of people are saying to, move to the other kind of yogurt. If you can, it's hard to, get off of this kind of yogurt.
So you said a gram is a cube?
It's generally about that. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but that's a good, in your head, rough estimate.
So the raisins are 29 and a quarter. Because you know.
She's like, thank gosh, I don't like raisins. Phew! All right, let Matt have it with the Belvitas.
This is confusing. You told me it was 0, but I don't,
You don't think it's right?
no, I don't think it's wrong, I just don't understand where you got it.
All right, so remember, we're coming over here. You got 0,
Yeah,
0, 0, and you got 1.
yeah,
And then you got the fibers, 12,
yeah.
so that's 2. And then you gotta ditch fingers, that's not up there. So then you gotta get rid of the figures for the total fat.
Yeah.
And then, it's kind of crunched, but then the total calories. So you end up with a
Now,
magical,
now, if you only ate 2 of these instead of 4, you would lose that, but you wouldn't have to eat
exactly.
the others either.
So Matt, you could only eat,
It's Belvita, they're like.
Oh, you're only supposed to have 2 of them? Oh, no.
You could
only
eat
have
2.
1 or 2, it's much.
you could only eat half the serving and not have to get a 0.
I think I better go and switch over to some of those other
Oh,
ideas.
that's the way I eat, I
You
actually
eat-
eat
yeah.
those things, but I only eat like.
Half the serving, yeah.
Yeah.
What are they?
They're-
Milk toast?
They're breakfast
They're like a
bars.
breakfast alternative.
How big are they?
Oh, they're an actual bar, they're not like
Yeah.
a
There's
cracker.
4 of them.
They're almost like crackers.
Yeah.
Little
They're
crackers.
like sweet crackers,
Yeah.
kind of like a graham cracker.
They also
almost.
make a soft baked one.
Yes.
I'll have to look at when I get home.
Yeah. And my friend over here, how did you do? You brought in your own labels. What did you find out?
I found out that the bottle with 100% juice is less healthy than the one's got 20%. I don't know how convoluted that seems. But the 100% juice, which I've been drinking for a long time, the Tetra, so it comes up with 0 fingers.
Okay.
And am I to be leaving here tonight thinking that, gee, I need to find a better alternative?
You might need to find a different juice. And don't feel like you can't have any juice. It just might mean that the juice that you've been picking might not be the best choice. And that's why I said when you first go to the store, you might be like, oh, this is such a pain in my fanny because now it's going to take longer. But there might be, that particular brand might not be the
It
healthiest
doesn't have any
brand.
vitamin A, it doesn't have
You have
vitamin C.
to